darling.
You guys want any more coffee?
No, that's fine. Sweet.
I'm going again.
Well
Yeah.
past my limit.
Going for another round?
Yeah, we're going to go for about 15 minutes, hopefully, and then we're done.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You should have brought us out in clothes or something.
Yeah, we'll just
Oh,
stay
yeah,
here.
that's all good.
Yeah. Put a hat on and you come over every day.
All right, back again, guys, down here at Middle Child in Maribyrnong, Melbourne. Back here with Lan.
Hi guys.
And we're chatting about frightening fruit facts. I'm just going to straighten up this camera. So everyone is kind of like scared about fruit and
Terrified.
how they think it's detrimental, that we're either going to gain weight or is it going to affect our weight loss or can we have it in our meal plan. So I just thought a really good topic, right, to speak about. So I guess what are people so scared about? Like, is it in fruit, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the big issue at the moment is fructose is a scary word, and fructose is associated with fruit because it's a fruit sugar.
Sugar.
So it occurs naturally in fruits and honey. It occurs naturally in a couple of vegetables, so on and so forth. But the highest intake of fructose actually comes from table sugar or sucrose, which is made up of 50% glucose and 50% fructose.
Okay.
So the fear that we associate with fruit is actually a fear of fructose, and 90% of the fructose we take in doesn't come from our fruit.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, okay, so if that being said, so a lot of the fructose that we are so scared of because it's full of sugar actually isn't occurring that much necessarily from our fruit.
Exactly right. So if you go with the Australian recommendations of 2 pieces of fruit a day, trust me, you are not going to exceed a safe level of fructose for the average person. If you're having 12 oranges in a cup of orange juice, yes, you're going to start to push the limits, but we know that. We've known that for a very long time. We also know that usually when we make fruit juices, we pump them full of sugar as well. When we're talking about normal fruit intake, we've got absolutely nothing to worry about. However, if you think about everything else in the world that contains fructose these days, it gets a little bit more scary. So most bread contains sugar, okay? And bread is something that a lot of people will still consume on a daily basis. Your favourite muesli will most likely contain sugar or sucrose, and that, again, will contain fructose, and so on and so forth, and we're starting to
And most of us are already kind of eating these foods on a daily basis, even more than fruit, I guess. Like, and now you can kind of see, I guess, you're now exposed to that there's actually almost more sugar or more, I guess, fructose in some of these other foods, not necessarily in actual fruit.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So as we take in these sugars, so when we take in sucrose, it's broken down into fructose and glucose, 50% and 50%. So if you're taking in a gram of sugar, you're taking in 500 milligrams of fructose. In your average piece of fruit, you're probably looking at between 4 and 10 grams of sugar, right? Okay. A good chunk of that is fructose, but if you look at 2 teaspoons of sugar, you're then looking at 5 grams just in 2 teaspoons of sugar of fructose alone.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah. So you can see how over the day it accumulates. So some people will have a coffee in the morning with 2 sugars, then they'll go have a sandwich for lunch, then maybe that night for dinner, let's say, or what can we go with, honey baked ham or something along those lines. Yeah. All of a sudden you've got 30 grams of fructose coming into your diet that has nothing to do with the fruit that you consumed that day.
Okay, quick question, right? So let's say, for example, are there particular types of foods, fruit that is higher in fructose?
There definitely is, and people who are sensitive to fructose or people who have fructose intolerance and so on and so forth, they'll tell you that things like apples and pears, bananas, those sorts of things will set them off much faster than other fruits. Some citrus fruits are tolerated really, really well by people, even people with fructose intolerance.
Okay.
So it's very interesting, but tolerance levels are another big topic. So everyone has a different tolerance level. To be honest, when I eat fruit, I just feel really good. I feel energetic.
Well, you should, yeah. So, like, what are some of the other benefits as well as obviously, I guess the people will stay away. So, yes, you can have sugar in your fruit, which is naturally occurring.
Exactly right.
But tend to stay away from it. Again, I guess the frightening facts is that there are more sugar in other breads.
Absolutely. Other good quality products that we eat daily. Like we said, muesli breads, muffins, cakes, so on and so forth. We're consuming a whole heap more fructose in those products than we are in the fruit that we're taking in day to day. Think about everything that's processed as having higher levels of fructose than your
actual fruit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. What are some of the key benefits? In my opinion, I already know that, I guess, the vitamins and minerals, which everyone should probably know. But again, there's one thing that we just fear, and we just, I don't know why, like maybe a lack of awareness that, it is okay because, vitamins and minerals and digestive enzymes as well in some fruit. I think that's the biggest one.
And, definitely.
Love pineapple.
Yeah, so you've got 101 benefits. I guess probably the most obvious ones are immune benefits. So because there's so many bioflavonoids, vitamin C, beta carotene, so on and so forth in our fruits, we need those. We have to have them. We've got to get them in somehow. So you can either eat fruit or vegetables, and you'll get them in. But we all know we quite enjoy fruit. It's a nice way to have a sweet fix without doing something naughty. So we're getting immune benefits, we're getting the vitamins and minerals that we need for normal processes in the body, we're getting enzymes to help aid digestion. The list goes on.
I think we're going to touch on this topic again. We're going to save it for probably another podcast, but I think the biggest one, man, is people say that sugar and fruit will spike insulin. So I guess this is another key one, which why people may not want to have it, because they've been told that it will increase levels of insulin. Yeah. So can you explain a little bit more, I guess? We know the benefits now, but will it affect or does it affect levels of insulin?
So I think what people get confused about is fructose versus saccharides. Okay, so saccharides are any sugar, essentially. So glucose is a saccharide, fructose is a saccharide. Then we have polysaccharides, where we've got several sugars bound together, so on and so forth. Fructose is almost entirely metabolized in the liver. Okay, so probably 90 to 95% of its metabolism happens there. And as it's metabolized there, it produces triglycerides and glycogen for the liver, which are necessary stores for us for when we run out. So does everyone know that the brain can only operate off of glucose? So everything else in your body can operate off of pretty much any other substrate. So your heart, your lungs, everything else can make use of amino acids, can make use of fatty acids, so on and so forth to manage. Your brain can't, because we have a blood-brain barrier.
So your brain almost needs carbohydrates to function
consistently. Exactly right. So the liver holds onto a store of carbohydrates for us as glycogen, so that when we need it, it can be reverse engineered and utilised by the brain.
Okay, that's good to know.
Fructose, if it's almost entirely metabolized in the liver, 95% of it is going to be used for those processes. So we're looking at only really absorbing 5% of it. And yes, fructose, once it's been metabolized, can be reverse engineered into glucose and can then spike your insulin, but fructose itself cannot spike your insulin. It doesn't have the signaling molecule to allow that
to happen. It's the other carbohydrates that are associated with fruit.
Exactly.
As Lana just mentioned. So if you didn't know, an insulin is a hormonal response, okay? So
and a necessary hormonal response to...
Correct, meaning good or bad.
Yeah.
So Lana will be able to, I guess, speak about a little bit, small detail, what a little insulin response would be in relation to, I guess, sugar, fruit.
Yeah. So traditionally we look at sugars as low GI, high GI. Does everyone know about the glycemic index? So basically it refers to how quickly a food releases its sugars. So high GI foods release their sugars really rapidly, and as such they spike insulin. So they release sugar into the bloodstream really, really quickly. As a result, our pancreas goes, pardon my French, but shit, I've got to deal with this. And it starts to go into overdrive and it spikes your insulin to try and deal with those high GI carbohydrates that are elevating our blood sugar.
Okay.
So as the insulin spikes, the insulin then works like a ferry with the glucose and takes glucose into the cells to be used.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
And that takes it out of the bloodstream and drops our blood sugar back to normal. The problem with that is because insulin becomes really hyperactive all of a sudden, usually we get a big crash afterwards. So
that's usually the case, hey, with cellular energy and stuff like that. I find like throughout the day, carbohydrates can and may give you that kind of up and rise
peak and trough. Yeah,
definitely. Depending on everybody's different with their bodies and stuff like that, but
Absolutely.
the main point would be that, again, with your insulin, making sure that you're consuming it, or your carbohydrates, fruits, sugars, that you're consuming it with other foods.
Yeah, absolutely.
To lower that level
the
of
GI.
insulin.
Exactly
GI,
right. So when you combine a high sugar food with a high fat food, you lower the GI. So the processing takes longer. Your gut takes longer to process everything. Sugar gets released slower, and therefore you don't get that insulin spike. So it's a win-win.
So I guess to keep the levels of insulin from fruit that we're scared about is to consume your fruit with a meal that is also of lower GI through proteins and also fatty acids as well.
Even a trick that I use with my clients is to always pair fruit with nuts.
There you go. That's a pretty good idea.
And nice, simple, easy. You know, it's things that we can always have on hand.
And that will avoid an insulin spike or any form of you getting anywhere near that to gain weight. So our whole idea of, I guess, this is to let people know that the frightening facts that you know how to avoid, I guess, that insulin spike and weight gain and stuff like that.
And understanding as well, I guess this will touch on another topic that we'll go on about at a later stage, but it's not the calories themselves that are causing the problem. So we need to get people to understand that fruit sugars or sugars in general are only dangerous if, one, they're overconsumed, or if they're consumed at the wrong times for the wrong reasons. So if your body is void of all the other things it needs to work, it doesn't matter how much sugar you take in, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, that does make sense though. Yeah.
Absolutely, it makes complete sense.
And is there a threshold? So you were saying that, we always say limit your fruit from we'll say 2 to 3 serves a day?
Yeah, so most people 2 to 3 serves is really healthy. Okay, so the Australian government recommends 2 serves a day.
Do you agree with that though?
This is one time where I pretty much do agree with the Australian government. Doesn't happen often, guys, but this one I do kind of agree with them. We don't need a huge amount more than that.
It's enough to get the vitamins and minerals and the digestive antioxidants.
Exactly right. Anything above that, usually it's just us trying to satiate our sweet cravings somewhere along the lines there.
Is there a best time as well to kind of have this fruit intake per se, throughout the day now that we've spoken about insulin spiking and stuff like that? Is there a really good time for us to consume it as well?
Okay. Well, I guess again it kind of goes back to what we were discussing earlier about everyone being a little bit different. It's a bit of a trial and error thing. The rule of thumb that I use is if you're more active in the first half of the day, consume your fructose in the first half of the day.
Or your carbohydrates.
Yeah, exactly right. If you're more active in the latter half of the day, consume your fruit in the latter half of the day. Just because you're more likely to metabolize the excess sugars for energy.
And to keep insulin levels down and also, fat storage.
Exactly right. So if you're metabolizing or using the carbs that are coming in straight away, they can't be converted into fatty acids.
Perfect. So it'd be a good way to optimize fat loss associated with, again, mythical kind of things associated with fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we really need to get our heads away from thinking that good things are bad and bad things are good. We kind of got confused a few years ago when all of this mass marketing came out with very low calorie diets, things like the Atkins diet and so on and so forth. That
Atkins diets is high protein, high fats, and very, very minimal carbohydrates. Even from vegetables as well, that's still classed as still a high carbohydrate.
Absolutely.
So the Atkins diets is good for some, but long-term effects, that's what you got to really have a look at, the sustainability, what's optimal
exactly
for you.
Yeah.
I think that's what this kind of would cover and come down to, yeah?
Risk versus reward, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's whenever you're thinking about your general nutrition, all you need to think about is if you're feeling better when you're doing something that's good for your body, that's something that you want to run with, yeah? So taking in fruits and vegetables, good quality carbohydrates and good quality meats, never going to steer you wrong. Then we need to tweak though. Yeah. So you get the basics right and then you say, okay, well this works pretty well. Let's try this and see if this works better for me. Let's try this, see if it works better than me. Increase your protein, decrease your carbs, so on and so forth. Play around with where your calories sit and so on and so forth. Include sugar, take it out. See if your gut feels better. If your gut feels better when you're not eating the fruit, then get your veggies up and make sure you're getting the micronutrients in that you're missing out from your fruit.
Okay, so always include fruit in your diet, guys. Again, this is another topic that me and Lan, again, I say it every podcast, is just to trial and error, I think that's the biggest thing. So, but do try to understand the key benefits of having fruit in your diet. Don't be frightened of them.
Definitely don't be scared.
And there are more higher things that, again, fructose, higher in other carbohydrate sources such as, the things that we have day to day, usually breads, refined carbohydrates. So don't be scared of them. Make sure you include them for all those great benefits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess a positive to take away would be
enjoy your fruit.
That's
love
it.
We live in a country where we produce amazing fruit, amazing quality. Get back to enjoying it and look at the bigger things in life.
Variety is key too, guys. Don't always eat bananas. Not saying that you don't have to, but keep as much variety in that diet just to keep it interesting and also improve that, I guess, the gut health as well.
Definitely.
All right, that's it for us, guys. See you later.
Thanks, guys.